Thank you for joining me for another episode of Taste of Magic. This episode, I'm going to be talking some more about the Izzet versus Golgari duel deck. They've been completely spoiled at this point, so we've got some new cards to look at for Return to Ravnica. The first one is the Dredge Mangler, another creature with Scavenge, so Scavenge is definitely a thing. Um, Looks cool. He's a 3/3 for 3. He has haste. His scavenge cost is 5. And we also have Street Spasm, which is the new card. It has the new keyword for Izzet, which is Overload. And the way Overload works is normally the spell targets one thing, and if you pay the overlay cost instead, it targets everything. So target creature without flying that your opponent doesn't or your opponent does control, as opposed to each creature without flying your opponent's control. Really interesting. Should should be neat to see what other overload cards come out. It gives you a little bit more bang for your card. You can target one or possibly get a bunch of creatures. Another one is Goblin Electromancer. Makes all your instants and sorceries cost one less. Nice, you know. Izzet loves sorceries, so that is useful. And there is two new card arts that we've seen. One is a completely new art for Feast or Famine, which is really cool. I like it a lot. Much better than the old artwork for Feast or Famine. Feast or Famine is an old card, and then we also have a new picture for Prophetic Bolt, which has Ralzeric in it. Which you guys know I like Ralzeric. He's a planeswalker. He's red and blue, and he is from the Izzet League. And I don't know if this means that he probably is not going to be as a planeswalker, but he's apparently going to be, in the background. So that's kind of cool. We might get some flavor text from him. Obviously, he's in this picture. So we'll have to see. And lastly, another new card is the Izzet Charm, which is awesome card. One red, one blue. It's a charm, and it can do three different things: counter target non-creature spell unless controller plays two, deals 2 damage to target creature, or draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. So that's fun. Now, if you don't know what charms are, charms go all the way back to Mirage. There has been several cycles of them, and there's never been a 2-color cycle of charms. So there was the original Mirage charms, was one for each color. Then there were Vision charms, again one for each color. Then there weren't any charms for a while. Then there were 3-color charms in Planar Chaos, or Plane Shift rather. Plane Shift had 3-color ones, one for each of the dragons that were in Invasion Block. And then in Onslaught, we got some more charms. These are more tribal themed ones. They each do something with a creature type. And then again, we got them in Planar Chaos, which these are a little bit more expensive than the just 1 mana charms, but also more powerful. So those are kind of cool. And finally, the most recent set of charms we had was again a 3-color set, which was from Alara, and there was one for each of the 5 planes. So this is the first time that we're seeing 2-color charms. So that's really exciting. There'll be 10 of them, one for each guild. So that'll be neat. Usually charms, you only get 5 of them at a time. So, oh, and then there's another card that I missed. The Karazda Guild Mage. Now, Guild Mages were in the original Ravnica block. They all had two Hybrid mana symbols, and then they had two activated abilities, one for each color, and both of the abilities always costed the same amount of converted mana cost. So either two converted mana costs, five converted mana costs, whatever. Now, interestingly, what I've noticed here with all these cards is that none of them have hybrid mana symbols. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but we might not. There might not be any hybrid mana in Return to Ravnica, um, which is interesting because hybrid mana was invented for Ravnica, and it's kind of interesting. Like we haven't seen any spoiler cards with hybrid mana so far, and also interesting that the guild mage is called the Karazda guild mage. Like, what's that? Are the guilds going to change their name? Is this a new guild? One of the articles I was reading talked about how the guilds only really have influence over part of Ravnica. Obviously, Ravnica is an entire plane, so there's other parts of Ravnica that they don't really affect, and people don't care about the guilds. So all of that's really interesting, um, and so that's all I'm going to talk about this episode. I am going to have another episode, uh, and I'm going to talk about just artwork that I found going around, and so that'll be fun. So join me for that episode next.